Imagine a force so powerful, so disciplined, that it doesn't respond to the world's noise, but instead listens to the silent whispers of wisdom and strategy. A force that, in the face of provocation, chooses restraint over retaliation, not out of weakness, but because it understands the true cost of war. This is the Pakistan Army, a force that fights not just with weapons, but with patience, purpose, and a deep commitment to peace, Today, we'll explore why their silence is not surrender, but the sound of wisdom, strength, and faith guiding a nation toward a brighter future. Stay with me. In the realm of modern warfare and international conflict, the immediate use of force is often mistaken as the only form of strength. However, true military power lies not in how quickly an army retaliates, but in how wisely it chooses its moments. Strategic patience is the discipline of waiting, watching, and preparing, even when provoked. It is the calm before the storm, the ability to absorb pressure without reacting impulsively. The Pakistan Army has consistently demonstrated this discipline. In times of heightened tension, especially along volatile borders, immediate response could lead to full-scale conflict. This not only risks massive loss of life, but could destabilize an entire region. Strategic patience allows military leadership to assess the situation thoroughly, analyze enemy intentions, and weigh long-term consequences against short-term emotional satisfaction. When faced with aggression, restraint is not about cowardice, it's about control. The ability to stand firm without firing a shot sends a message more powerful than missiles. It tells the world that the army is not driven by public pressure, media hype, or emotional provocation. It is led by calculated decisions, grounded in the protection of national interests and the safety of civilians. This approach also plays a significant role in diplomatic positioning. Global powers observe not only how a country defends itself, but how it handles conflict. Rash moves can result in international isolation, sanctions, or loss of moral ground. Strategic patience gives Pakistan the higher ground, showing that it values peace but is prepared for war if forced. Patience in this context is not passive. It is active preparation, intelligence gathering, and operational readiness. It is building strength behind the curtain, knowing that the real battle may not be fought today. But when it is, it will be on terms chosen by those who were wise enough to wait. One of the most critical responsibilities of any professional military is the protection of its civilian population. In any conflict, it is not only soldiers who suffer. Ordinary men, women, and children become victims of crossfire, airstrikes, and displacement. When a nation like Pakistan chooses not to immediately respond with military aggression, it is often out of a deeper responsibility to prevent that widespread human cost. War is not clean. It is not contained within battlefields. Cities, villages, and homes become unintended targets. Infrastructure like hospitals, schools, and roads are destroyed, leaving long-term scars that take generations to heal. The Pakistan Army understands that a large-scale response, especially in a nuclear-armed region, could ignite a conflict that spirals far beyond borders, causing devastation that cannot be reversed. And in moments of high tension with India, even a single retaliatory strike carries the risk of triggering a chain reaction. Both countries possess advanced weaponry, and escalation can quickly get out of control. The Pakistan Army's decision to exercise restraint is not about avoiding a fight. It is about protecting millions of lives on both sides of the border who would bear the consequences of such a confrontation. This approach requires tremendous discipline. It means holding back when emotions are running high, when public pressure is demanding revenge, and when provocation is intended to spark a reaction. Choosing diplomacy, back-channel communication, and international forums over immediate retaliation may appear as inaction to the uninformed, but it is a deliberate effort to keep civilians out of harm's way. By prioritizing the safety of its people over the optics of military action, the Pakistan Army shows that real power lies in responsibility. The goal is not just to win a battle, but to avoid a war that nobody, especially the innocent, should have to suffer through. In any military conflict, it is not just soldiers who face the consequences. Civilians, innocent men, women, and children often become the first and most helpless victims of war. When a country like Pakistan chooses not to immediately respond with full military force in the face of provocation, it is often acting with this reality in mind. The goal is not to avoid confrontation, but to protect the lives of millions who have nothing to do with political or military disputes. A large-scale military response, especially between two nuclear-armed nations like Pakistan and India, carries enormous risks. Even a limited strike can lead to an uncontrollable spiral of retaliation. Cities could be bombed, families could be torn apart. Infrastructure like hospitals, schools, and mosques could be destroyed in minutes. The ripple effects go far beyond the battlefield. Entire generations can be impacted by a few moments of uncontrolled escalation. The Pakistan Army is fully aware of this responsibility. It operates with a doctrine that emphasizes the safety of its population. Choosing not to react instantly in times of provocation is part of a larger strategy to prevent war from breaking out where peace can still be preserved. Emotional decisions in war led to regret. Calculated decisions lead to the preservation of life. This approach also prevents the enemy from achieving one of its goals, to provoke a response that can justify further aggression. If Pakistan were to act impulsively, it could give the opposing side the opportunity to escalate the conflict and blame it on retaliation. By exercising restraint, the Pakistan Army takes away that excuse. Avoiding escalation is not a sign of weakness. It is a show of control, maturity, and a deep commitment to the well-being of the people. In a world where war begins easily and ends slowly, this kind of leadership matters. Today's wars are no longer fought only on battlefields with tanks, jets, and guns. Modern warfare has evolved into a complex web of psychological operations, media manipulation, economic pressure, cyber attacks, and diplomatic maneuvering. The real battle often takes place in minds, headlines, and international forums long before a single bullet is fired. This is the battlefield where Pakistan's army is actively engaged, calmly, wisely, and strategically. In psychological warfare, perception is everything. The enemy's goal is often to provoke a reaction that confirms their narrative. When Pakistan refuses to fall into this trap, it disrupts that strategy. Maintaining composure under pressure sends a strong message, not just to the adversary, but to the global audience watching closely. It shows control, discipline, and the ability to think several steps ahead. Diplomatic warfare is another powerful tool. Every move a country makes in times of conflict is under international scrutiny. Responding impulsively without exhausting diplomatic channels can weaken a nation's moral position. By prioritizing talks, engaging with allies, and highlighting its peaceful intentions on global platforms, Pakistan strengthens its legitimacy and exposes any aggression against it for what it truly is. Modern conflict also includes media narratives. News cycles shape global opinion. The Pakistan Army is well aware that battles are often won or lost not in the trenches, but in the way stories are told and understood around the world. Every statement, every decision is made with the understanding that it will be analyzed, amplified, and possibly twisted by those with an agenda. In this new era of warfare, brute strength alone is not enough. Psychological stability, diplomatic intelligence, and strategic patience are key weapons. Pakistan's army is not inactive. It is simply fighting a different kind of war, one where silence, restraint, and timing can be more devastating than firepower. Discipline is the backbone of any professional army, and in the case of the Pakistan Army, it is one of its most defining traits. Every decision, every movement, and every operation is guided by a deep-rooted chain of command, strategy, and national interest. This is not an institution that reacts on impulse or public emotion. It operates on intelligence, timing, and long-term goals, especially in high-stakes situations like conflict with a neighboring power. Calculated discipline means thinking before acting. It involves weighing the consequences of every response and understanding that even a single misstep can spiral into a larger crisis. In a region already burdened with historical tensions, religious divisions, and nuclear capabilities, there is no room for reckless military action. The Pakistan Army understands this and conducts its operations with surgical precision. Discipline is the backbone of any professional army, and in the case of the Pakistan Army, it is one of its most defining traits. Every decision, every movement, and every operation is guided by a deep-rooted chain of command, strategy, and national interest. This is not an institution that reacts on impulse or public emotion. It operates on intelligence, timing, and long-term goals, especially in high-stakes situations like conflict with a neighboring power. Calculated discipline means thinking before acting. It involves weighing the consequences of every response and understanding that even a single misstep can spiral into a larger crisis. In a region already burdened with historical tensions, religious divisions, and nuclear capabilities, there is no room for reckless military action. The Pakistan Army understands this and conducts its operations with surgical precision. This discipline is not just about battlefield movements. It includes how information is managed, how communication is handled with global powers, and how provocations are dealt with internally. Rather than escalating situations, the Army often works silently behind the scenes, preparing, planning, and positioning itself for the right moment, if and when that moment arrives. The decision not to respond immediately to aggression or provocation is not a lack of courage. It's a reflection of institutional control. A disciplined army does not dance to the tune of loud voices demanding revenge. It listens to strategy, studies its enemy, and moves when it sees advantage, not when it is taunted. Calculated discipline is what separates professional forces from militias. It is what allows a nation to remain standing when others fall into chaos. The Pakistan Army's refusal to act without strategic purpose is not hesitation, it is preparation. It is the mark of a force that understands war is not just about strength, but about knowing exactly when to use it in a world dominated by headlines, loud statements, and visible displays of aggression. Silence is often misunderstood. People tend to equate noise with strength, tanks rolling, planes flying, leaders shouting, but the reality of true power is far more subtle. It doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't need to. True power moves with quiet confidence, and that is exactly how the Pakistan Army operates in times of crisis. Power that is real doesn't chase attention. It doesn't feel the need to prove itself at every opportunity. It waits, it watches, it calculates. It allows others to speak loudly, to provoke, to try and force a reaction. And in that stillness, in that restraint, lies an undeniable strength. Pakistan's army does not react because others demand. It acts when the time, conditions, and outcome align with national interest and strategic advantage. Throughout history, many of the most powerful nations and armies have understood this principle. They didn't win every battle by firing the first shot. They won by preparing in silence, by understanding their enemy, and by choosing the perfect moment to act, often catching the world by surprise. The Pakistan Army holds immense strength, militarily, strategically, and in terms of battlefield experience. It has defended its borders against immense odds and continues to evolve in modern warfare. But its greatest strength lies in its ability to remain composed, in its ability to stay silent when the world expects noise, in its ability to hold fire when others want flames. Real power is self-assured. It doesn't need to roar to be feared. It doesn't need to react to every poke or provocation. It knows what it is capable of, and when the time is right, it doesn't speak. It acts, and that action, when it comes, speaks louder than any words ever could. In today's interconnected world, every move made by a nation's military is observed, recorded, analyzed, and judged, not just by its own people, but by the entire international community. For a country like Pakistan, this global spotlight creates a high-stakes environment where even the smallest miscalculation can be turned into a major diplomatic liability. That is why the Pakistan Army chooses its actions with extreme care, knowing that missteps are no longer local, they're global. International politics doesn't operate on facts alone. It also runs on narratives. A swift military retaliation, no matter how justified, can be twisted in the media, especially by powerful lobbies and biased outlets. Within hours, a country defending its sovereignty can be painted as the aggressor. The Pakistan Army knows this and therefore approaches conflict with a focus not only on military outcomes, but also on maintaining its image and legitimacy on the world stage. Global forums such as the United Nations, the International Court of Justice, and powerful international alliances weigh heavily on these decisions. Moreover, adversaries often provoke responses in order to gain international sympathy or to justify their own aggressive agendas. If Pakistan responds without careful planning, it could walk straight into a trap that damages its reputation and limits its options. The Pakistan Army's restraint, therefore, is not a sign of fear, but of foresight. Maintaining the moral high ground is essential in modern conflict. While weapons win battles, narratives win support. The Pakistan Army understands this dual battlefield and operates with a deep awareness that the world is always watching, and every action must serve both national defense and international credibility. Before engaging in external conflict, any responsible nation must first secure its internal front. For Pakistan, internal security has remained a top priority due to the complex challenges it faces within its borders. These challenges include terrorism, sectarian violence, political instability, and economic pressure, all of which directly impact national strength and unity. The Pakistan Army understands that without a strong and stable home front, no military victory abroad can be sustained. Over the past 2 decades, Pakistan has faced numerous internal threats, including large-scale terrorist networks operating in tribal areas and major cities. The Pakistan Army and security forces have conducted extensive operations like Sarbi, Asbi, and Rat-ul-Fasad to eliminate these threats and restore order. These operations required immense resources, coordination, and sacrifice. Maintaining the momentum of peace and stability at home continues to be a strategic necessity. Moreover, internal stability is not just about fighting terrorists, it's about protecting infrastructure, ensuring law and order, and maintaining morale among the civilian population. The Army works closely with law enforcement agencies, intelligence units, and civil administration to ensure that the heart of the nation remains safe and functioning. Engaging in a full-scale war with another country, especially a powerful one like India, while internal challenges still exist, could strain Pakistan's resources and expose vulnerabilities. It could shift focus away from national development and give hostile elements the chance to exploit chaos. That is why the Pakistan Army remains deeply invested in protecting its internal front first. This strategy reflects maturity. It acknowledges that a nation's true strength comes from within: unity, peace, and control over its territory. By prioritizing internal security, the Pakistan Army is laying the foundation for long-term strength, stability, and readiness to face any external threat with full focus and national support behind it. In warfare, timing is everything. The decision to retaliate is not one that should be rushed or made in the heat of the moment. Every action carries consequences, and it is essential for the Pakistan Army to carefully choose when and how to respond to provocations. Acting impulsively can escalate a situation, lead to unintended consequences, and most importantly, put the lives of civilians at risk. Therefore, a measured response is often the wisest approach. The Pakistan Army is not bound by the impulse to react immediately, instead it understands that true strength lies in the ability to act at the most opportune moment after careful consideration. The purpose of a retaliatory strike is not just to respond to aggression, but to do so in a way that maximizes effectiveness and minimizes harm. By waiting for the right moment, the Army can gather intelligence, assess the full scope of the threat, and ensure that any action taken will have the desired impact without causing unnecessary escalation. Moreover, this restraint serves a strategic purpose. In the age of modern warfare, retaliation is not just about military might, it is about controlling the narrative. A rushed, emotional reaction can be used by adversaries to manipulate international opinion and present Pakistan as the aggressor. On the other hand, a well-timed response backed by clear evidence and strong reasoning reinforces the nation's position on the global stage. Patience allows for flexibility. It provides time to explore diplomatic channels, build alliances, and gain international support. It also allows the Pakistan Army to maintain the moral high ground, showing that it does not act out of anger, but with careful thought, discipline, and strategy. This is how a nation demonstrates true power, not through rash action, but through calculated, strategic decision-making. In today's world, sheer military strength is not always the determining factor in winning a conflict. The true path to victory goes beyond having the most advanced weaponry, the largest armies, or the highest number of bombs. It requires wisdom, insight, and the ability to make the right decisions at the right time. The Pakistan Army, aware of this truth, knows that success is not simply about dominating with firepower, but about making well-thought-out choices that ensure long-term peace and security. Firepower is a critical aspect of any military strategy, but it must be used judiciously. Unrestrained use of force can quickly spiral out of control, leading to unnecessary casualties, collateral damage, and even international backlash. The Pakistan Army, therefore, understands that real victory is achieved through a combination of strength and wisdom. Every strike, every maneuver, every decision must be calculated not only for its immediate impact, but also for its long-term consequences. Wisdom in warfare includes understanding the political, social, and economic dimensions of the conflict. It means recognizing the bigger picture, how actions on the battlefield can affect international relations, global perceptions, and domestic stability. The Pakistan Army carefully considers these factors before making decisions, ensuring that any response aligns with national and international interests. The use of force, while necessary at times, is always weighed against diplomatic, psychological, and strategic considerations. Victory also requires patience and the ability to wait for the right moment. The Pakistan Army does not rush into battle simply because it can. Instead, it bides its time, gaining the necessary intelligence and waiting for the situation to evolve. Through wisdom, it ensures that when it does engage,